Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Ben.
And this is Blake.
And you are listening to episode 13 of the Nothing New podcast. We are a podcast that emphasizes how doing the small things will help you turn the corner with your health, your business, and every other area in your life that you need fit.
Boom.
That is our welcome boom. So, how is everybody doing today?
Welcome.
Today, we have a really interesting topic, and I think it's a very in-depth topic, one that you'll get a lot out of, so I hope you are paying attention. I want to start off with a question. Do you want to know how to instantly become smarter, healthier, more motivated, and more successful?
I'm going to go ahead and answer that for everyone, of course.
Yes,
please,
of course, yes.
Please.
If you say no, then just get out of here. Just go. I think we have an answer for you. Now, the path to get to this answer is going to be different for everybody, but the answer is the same. What is that answer?
Be happy. Think happy.
That's
that simple.
That's some simplistic-ish right there. That's kind of almost sounds like the Duck Dynasty happy, happy, happy type deal. Somewhat.
It's such a simple few words, but it does have a pretty broad and different meaning for everybody.
Oh, totally. So, and the reason that we wanted to talk about happiness and becoming happy and being happy is because, like we just said, like that is the key to being smarter, healthier, more motivated, more successful, and then staying disciplined to keep at it. And if you're not happy, well, that's just not a bad thing. So we are going to hit you with some facts right across the top because it's pretty alarming to see some of these depression rates. I'll let Blake hit that one.
Yeah, so here's some sad but true facts. We've got depression rates are 10 times higher today than they were in 1960. Every year, the age threshold of unhappiness sinks lower across our nation. Today, the average age of onset depression is 14 and a half years old. Think about that. It's a pretty astounding. 50 years ago, say, it was 29 and a half years old. And then a survey, this is back from January 2010, found that only 45% of workers surveyed were actually happy at their jobs.
See, I want to go back to that one number you said about the 14 and a half year old kids. That's the average age of onset depression. And I want to just throw this question out there. I'm not saying you have an answer, but for the sake of discussion, why do you think that is?
Well, I think, you know what, Ben? I think it's partly to do with media and how accessible media is now.
True.
I really feel that, think about, what age now does a kid get a cell phone?
Oh man, that's
because
crazy.
From me growing up to now, it is ridiculous. I mean, I see kids that are 8 years old that have cell phones on their own, and who knows what they can look up. But there's news being fed into that phone no matter what.
Right.
So I think this is just me saying it. I don't really know, but I think a lot has to do with the media and what they report to us.
I would almost too add in. I wonder what the level of expectation is that's there. If you think about it, is their expectation of the real world. So I was joking with my dad about this the other day about what adulting is like now. And so as a kid, you think it's going to be great. Like you're going to be like, oh, I'll be able to have a job and money and I'll be able to do all this cool stuff. And then when you get to that point, you're like, oh, I have a job. I don't have that much money.
I want to go back.
Yeah, I want to go back to being a kid where I didn't have to worry about bills and mortgages and all that good stuff. And so I think expectations play a huge role because say you get to that 14 and a half, that's what, like a freshman, sophomore, I would imagine, in high school. Mm-hmm. And you get to that point and they get there and they're like, oh, well, it's not as cool as I thought it was. And they sink into this level of unhappiness. And I'm sure there's a huge spectrum there of what, unhappiness, sadness, depression looks like for everybody. But it's crazy to think that at that age, like that is the average age. That means there are younger people.
Well, think about, let's take the media, for instance, what's coming over the airwaves, every single day. Mm-hmm. I like to think the common denominator is negativity, right? It's all negative. And what happens is all this negative stuff that we're being told, which we've kind of talked about, is still a small percentage, but because the national news is going to put this out there, it makes it almost come into a reality. It seems like we have to somewhat live scared.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, and actually we looked at some of the facts about it before we started recording. And so we looked at it and they said on average there are 17 negative news reports to 1 A 17-to-1 ratio of negative to positive news reports. Like that is heavy stuff, like crazy stuff. And so you think about it, like if you're taking 17 or 18 stories, 17 of them are going to be bad. That's all you're hearing, because you're probably tuned out by the time you get to the one happy story, and that's usually at the very end. Like they give you that taste of hope, and then by that time you've already phased out and you're like, God, this world sucks. And like you said, it's all about probability and it's all about ratio. So we looked that up as well. And so wanted to give you guys up, said that when you look at the whole spectrum, the whole world of it all, is that there are, in your own community, there might not be, say it's a small town of 100 people. And so the prevalence of unusual and weird negative things happening is going to be pretty low. Say it's 1%. And so you might have one story out of those 100 people, and that's a negative thing. Now, say you are a suburb or you are right around, say, the city of Houston, like we are. That number is still 1%, but all of a sudden you have like 6 million people. So you're going to hear a lot more of the negative reports. Now, most people are watching national news, especially right now. We're in an election season. Yeah. And so they're getting to that point. So you're getting a lot of national world news. So guess what? We're like in the billions now. And so that number goes up even more. And then that's all they're feeding us. It's like, it's kind of like getting a bunch of junk food for your brain all the time at the very end of it. They're like, oh yeah, here's some greens. Eat them.
Here's a vegetable.
Yeah. Too bad you're full off of all this junk. Now you have diabetes.
And I do want to say this, that we're not saying that, there should be no negative news, because out of some negative news does come positive actions, right? And it does require, we do have to hear some of the negative stuff, but I think in both of our opinion, let's get that ratio a little bit closer, and not just 17-to-1. That just sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, because you know what? Part of it, I'm going to say it's while the media is pumping all this crap down our throats, and giving us all this junk food for our brain, like essentially we are letting it happen. Like you're still sitting at the table and you are still eating it. So it comes down to, yes, we have the option and the ability to change our minds and turn stuff off and stop taking in all of this information. So you have that power, so make sure you use it. Don't just sit there and keep eating. Like that's not going to work out for you.
So what do you think about now, kind of just talking about what we can do? Or actually, let's before that, let's talk about what, talking positive to yourself, thinking positive to yourself, how it can help us and what it's actually doing.
I think that's ultimately where it starts. And this is something that you tell your friends and family to do and start talking positive, and they kind of look at you all funky. And there's a video actually on YouTube of a dad with his daughter, and they're standing in front of the mirror, and he's having her speak positive affirmations into the mirror. And now, as a parent and as a human being, you look at that and you're like, now that's being a role model, and that's giving your child the ability to start speaking in positive terms. And I think you have to be able to do it for yourself before you go and pass that along to somebody else. But I think that's an excellent place to start.
Yep. I mean, we've got also just a few things that you could also, if you're asking the question now, like, okay, of course we want to become happy. We want to live a little bit better, have that happy lifestyle. Some simple things that you can do. First one being meditate. And I'm not necessarily saying meditate for an hour.
Did you just say meditate?
Being meditate? Did I say that?
I think you did.
Sorry, guys. But no, seriously, to meditate though, and I'm talking maybe take 5 minutes, maybe take 10, just of that quiet time. It's been proven just to take, taking 5 to 10 minutes of quiet time to kind of collect your thoughts. It helps us just become calm.
Right, and I think you don't have to have like the universal om noise, but what you can do though is just take those quiet times and just really just focus on your breathing. I think that's the best place to start. So when we say meditate, realize we're talking about being mindful and being present in a situation, not going into this deep trance, spending 3 to 5 minutes breathing and then understanding your breath.
And then another thing really simple to do, and I do this one quite a bit, is just always finding something to actually look forward to. Maybe you have some kind of special event coming up. Maybe you have a party coming up. Just thinking of something that you really can't wait to get to.
Yeah, and that's something I know my wife does really, really well. She'll find one thing that she has going or she has coming up in the future, and then always knows that that's looming on the horizon. So, big events. Like in the summer, we go to her family's lake house, and you get birthdays and, following those types of things. But always having something on the horizon. And they're all around you. And that's a big thing, is you have to be open-minded enough to realize they're there, but you do have those events and opportunities and situations to look at and say, hey, this is coming up. It's going to be awesome. I'll make the most of it, and we roll from there.
How about exercise?
I'm very anti-exercise, actually. No, I'm not. I think exercise is great because that's in the sense, it's one of the ways for you to be mindful about movement, and you can throw a meditation kick in there as well. But I think your body will appreciate the movement. I mean, hands down, there's no question about that.
What about this one? I like this one as well. Spending money. Now, I'm not talking about just spending money going out and buying something just to buy it. I'm talking more on the lines of spending money on an experience.
So you're not talking about being manic and like buying 13 fur coats.
I'm not really into the fur thing, so
it's a big kick at our house, fur. Not really. No, I think that's huge. And actually, we are doing this, or we've tried to implement this idea for Christmas with our families to say that, hey guys, let's not do gifts. Let's focus on going, and hanging out at the zoo. Doing things as a family that we can bring them in. We can then have stories about versus like, hey, you bought me this. She's not going to listen. So my mother-in-law bought me this ceramic pear one year, and it was about a 9-inch tall pear.
Tell us how you felt about that.
I was confused. And it was one of those things, and I think we looked at it, and that was like the perfect example for me of consumerism, of just buying something for the sake of buying something. And I know she meant well. She wanted me to open something because I was just kind of sitting around. But a ceramic pear, and I look at it now, it's a funny story, but at the same time, I would have much rather it's something that we could have invested money elsewhere in time, because she looked for that thing. That's the thing that kind of caught me off guard. So I think for any of us, let's kind of forego the ceramic pear when you're at Christmas time, and then spend that money and energy and just showing love and being there for somebody else.
What about exercise as signature strength? Meaning, what is that one thing that you're super talented at that you can always you enjoy going back to and doing? Because finding something like that will definitely help you get in a better place.
Right. No, I think that's big because how many of you guys actually focus on your weaknesses? Oh, I wish I could get better at that. I wish I could do that. And you don't really accentuate your strengths. And so I would challenge all of you to kind of go forward and say, what is it that I'm good at? And I enjoy doing, they go hand in hand together, because typically if you're successful, you're more apt to want to do it and continue doing it. So find that thing. What is yours, actually? I'd like to know that.
My talent?
Yes, talents.
Man, you got to let me know when you're going to ask me my talent. I'm talented at almost everything.
I figured you were going to say that.
But speed?
Speed.
Whenever I have something that is bothering me, I just ask somebody to race, and that's all I need to do to get my motivation back up for wherever it is. You know that.
Fair enough.
That or arm wrestling. I mean, whatever.
Fair enough.
All right, last one. Getting back on topic here. Last one, and I think this is one of the biggest, if not the biggest one, is our social relationships and how important those really are.
Yeah, I think if you are able to take stock of what it is that you have around you from a relationship perspective, and it's huge. The better your relationships are, the better you are, because not only do you get to be your best self in those relationships, but other people can help you improve, and it's massive. It's almost like a medication type deal.
I think it's almost a guarantee that it will help heighten your well-being. I think it's pretty much a guarantee.
I'll say BS on that. It might not. It might not. And the reason is, now I know exactly what you're trying to say. If you obviously have a good group around you, then yes, it elevates you, definitely. But, and I spoke to a school about this on Friday. I was like, look, you are the average of the 5 people you are closest to. And so if you are around a bunch of just crummy human beings, guess what? You're going to be a crummy human being. So you're always going to feel that negative emotion kind of come along. Like when you walk on, and I know you guys have those friends out there, those groups, you're like, crap.
That's fair. It's a good point.
You're like, Dale's going to be here. Hate Dale. Nobody hates Dale. But just making sure that you are in the right relationships. Don't just say,
choose your relationships wisely.
Yeah, filter those bad boys out. And then if you have a crummy one, get it the heck out of there, because it doesn't deserve a place in your life.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
And the same thing, going back to the media aspect, is not only are you inviting in your friends to your mental space and having those conversations and relationships, but when you are taking in the media and when you're taking in, it could be Twitter, whatever it is, the news, like that kind of infringes upon your negative or positive emotions as well. So if you're taking in just tons and tons of Fox News and CNN and all this, especially right now with all the Trump and Hillary stuff, it's just not going to go well for you. So you, again, have the ability to push away from the table and stop eating all the junk.
So what's your opinion then, Ben, on a gratitude journal?
I thought you were about to ask me who I'm voting for.
No, we're not going to talk about that right now.
So, what's your opinion on Trump and Hillary? My opinion on a gratitude journal. I have one. I use one as much as I can to remind myself to do it. And we were having this discussion earlier that I think it's a great tool because it brings you into a sense of mindfulness and awareness. However, I think a lot of people don't take the next step with the journal.
And the next step being?
Good question. So I think it's like, not only do you write the journal out and you're like, here's all the information, like the 5 things I'm grateful for today, or the 5 emotions I'm feeling, however it is you kind of write your journal. How many of you then take the information that you put down on paper and act on it? Instead of like, oh, yesterday sucked. Why did yesterday suck? Have you taken steps to make sure today doesn't suck? And so that's the only reason I say like it's not quite enough. I think it's a great first step, but you have to make sure there's a follow through there that acts upon, whatever it is you've written down to improve your life.
I liked it. Act upon it, and don't just write it down, close the book, and say, hey, you know what? I'll see the next blank page tomorrow. Exactly. And I think that's where some of us, and I've done it, and that's why I can say it, because I'll often close it and I'll come back to it and I'll be like, I don't really exactly remember what was happening because I didn't take the time to invest back in my time. And the reason why I see it being like super beneficial is just because of, maybe you have had a bad day, maybe your day got off to a bad start. Mm-hmm. That would be a good time to maybe take a quiet moment, go to your journal, open it up. What was, 3 things that you were grateful for yesterday? Mm-hmm. And just by having those 3 just by saying those words and just recalling that right there can help improve that day tremendously. Yeah, it transfers over because it's, I take those moments, and for me, it's like, different singing Let It Go with my truck with my daughter. Like that to me is a happy moment. So if there are those times when you kind of feel kind of crummy, you go look back and be like, I remember that was fun. And all of a sudden your day is going to improve from that small, simple task. So there's a book I've been reading kind of somewhat based on this topic here. And he gave a few examples of a few companies that, this is more in the business setting side of things, not just the personal life, but this, it's all the same. But Yahoo, he talks about the company Yahoo and Google, and they do some interesting things. Yahoo has a massage parlor and a game room inside of the business. Now, what do you think about that strategy? I think it's, if you have responsible people working there, it's great. Unless you have people that just go and play Halo all day or something, or just go and take full advantage. But I think if you set that up and it just becomes a part of your workplace and your culture, it's just going to be something that is normal, and you don't spend or waste time there. I think it's a great idea. And it's a hiring bonus. If you're one of those companies, you're going to attract better employees because you have better systems and better things in place to attract them. So for Google, they have a bring your dog to work day every day. See, we're kind of there when people bring their mutts up here. Yeah. Somewhat. And kids. It's just crazy. But I mean, you just think of, people are having a bad day. You go home and your dog, first thing they do is come up to you super happy. I mean, it's a quick burst of happiness. And if you're able to bring your dog to work every day, you know what? All it's going to take is, I'm having a bad day. Let me look down at this pup right here. Okay, I'm better. But they say the reason why, of course, they give a reason why they're doing this stuff. And it's not just because it sounds like fun, but it's because it's been proven to, again, help your brain become more innovative and creative. So there's a reason behind it. Yeah, anytime you can spur creativity, it's great. Now, I would kind of kick back on that and say, if you bring your dog to work every day, does the magic luster wear off? Well, but true, but I would almost think that they're probably not bringing it every single day, but it's still a cool rule. Like, it is, and it's something too. I think if you want the epitome of happiness, dogs. Hands down. Like, they don't know, they know sadness, but honestly, their lives are just 100% happy. They truly are your best friend. Mm-hmm. They poop everywhere. Yeah. It's great. Ooh, don't even get me started on that one right now. That's key. You had some good quotes. Whew. Okay, I liked one of my favorite ones. This is by Sean. I believe you pronounce it Akor. Don't quote me on that one, but happiness is not the belief that we don't need to change. It is the realization that we can.
That's good stuff. I liked the one that I took from that was, you can study gravity forever without learning how to fly. And I think this is one of those things of, it kind of goes back to the gratitude journal. Like, you can look back at happiness and what makes you happy and doesn't make you happy and all that good stuff. But if you're not actually like taking the leap and trying to fly, like if you want to just look at people and be like, man, I wish I was as happy as they are, that looks great, but you don't actually take those steps to be happy, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. So I think that was a huge thing for me to kind of look at and say it's always an action step that's required.
So I want to go back because we're going to go over this at the first of it, but we've left it off. So let's just go back and talk about when it comes back to what we're taught growing up from the get-go in our schooling system as it currently is. We are basically told that if we work hard enough and we become successful, and then and only then will we truly enjoy life. What do we think about that?
I'm kind of torn. I understand exactly where they're coming from. I mean, you want to craft a life and you want to build something to where you can kind of sit there at the end of it and look back and be like, man, this was great. But at the same time, you miss out on the daily magic of it all. And I think the kind of the things that make life great. And so I would look at that and say, honestly, I'm kind of torn. Your thoughts?
I'm going to go ahead and say that I believe happiness comes before success. And the reason why I say that is because if you are happy, there's your motivation, there's your extra motivation, there's how you're going to find your passion to truly stay engaged, motivated throughout your life. And that success will come at every turn.
Yeah.
Every single turn. And so, I mean, again, this is coming from me. This is not from you, right? But that is, I feel like the happiness needs to come before success.
And I can see where you're coming from, too, because you think about how many people, and they're always going to chase it. They'll never experience it, but they'll chase it. And it's like, oh, if only I get to the, or you think about people losing weight. If I lose 10 more pounds, I'll be happy. And they lose 10, like, but I could lose 5 more. And they get so wrapped up in the goal, they lose sight of the process. And ultimately, they miss out on every opportunity for happiness along the way. So I can definitely hear where you're coming from and agree.
Yeah, and I think also, we're around a lot of successful people.
Right.
And these people also right now they're grinding away. And what kind of falters is, we get to see the health side of things, and their health falters a little bit. And so to me, what's the point in becoming successful, having all the success, but yet you had to leave your family, for weeks at a time. And by the way, you've lost your health. Because whenever you do want to go have fun at the end of everything, you have retirement, you want to go have fun, but yet you're not healthy enough to take the stairwell up, I just...
You miss out. I think, you have to be able to see the little things, and you have to have your mind open to it and aware. And I think it goes always back to awareness and mindfulness. And so if you can experience that, you can experience happiness, and then you don't have to keep putting it off to think, oh, when I get to this point, I'll do this. It's around you all the time. It's open your mind, filter everything through that, and you're going to be much happier.
And I'm just going to say this to kind of finish off, but just don't, when we put our work in our career first, I think we're not going to get our full true potential. I think you're actually going to limit your impact on the world. I think positive, be happy, the success will come.
Yep, I think that's a good place to end this bad boy, is think happy, move forward, and then just be open to it every single day, every time, every moment. And so I'm going to throw some quick meditation apps that I think you can go and download, and I'll put them in the show notes as well. But Headspace is fantastic, and Smiling Mind are 2 really good ones to go to.
I've got, actually, let's finish off with this quote, also by the same Shauna Core. Happiness is the joy we feel striving after our potential.
Boom. Okay, so that is episode 13. Thank you guys so much for taking this journey and understanding what it takes to instantly become smarter, healthier, more motivated, more freaking successful. And it's happiness.
Hashtag 2 Dragons, and go check out episode 12 if you haven't.
Yeah, hashtag 2 Dragons, and then go to as well. this is your action step: is go to iTunes and then give us a review, because the more reviews you get, the better it is for us, the better it is for everybody else to help them out, the message keep moving forward. Just understanding everything is all about the simple little thing. So we would appreciate if you did that, and we will see you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.